Okay, I think we're ready to go.
Okay, I'll call to order the February 11th meeting of Brentwood Public Works. If we can do a roll call.
Okay. Chairman Waggy,
Here.
Alderman Gould,
Here.
Alderman Lockmiller,
Here.
Alderwoman Tice.
Here.
Great. All members of the board are present.
Fantastic. Move on to item 2, the approval of the agenda. If anybody has any changes to the agenda, if not, I'll assume we can approve by acclamation. Okay, we have no announcements, appointments, proclamations, or recognitions. Citizen comment.
We do have a citizen in the gallery, but we don't have a hand raised, so not at this time.
Okay. Let's move on to reports of the committee chair and alderman. I'll go first. The only thing for me is Bola and Dan and Eric, I'd like to thank you for the tour you gave us of the Brentwood bound area. I've been kind of driving around the area on my own and really got a lot more insight into what's going on with that tour. So thank you very much for the time of putting that together and showing us what's going on. And that goes for everybody on the team that helped out. Thank you. Alderman Gould.
I concur on that, but I have no other report.
Okay. Alderman Lockmiller.
Yeah, ditto that on the tour. Really enjoyed it. And thank you to Dan and his crew on keeping our streets clean during the snow and ice.
Thanks, Steve. Alderwoman Tice.
Yeah, I will extend kudos to the tour, especially just to see how you sort of know how big it's going to be, but to see it, it was really great. And I'm always amazed at how the Brentwood streets are so much better than any other streets, including the highways. So thanks to Dan and his team.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Okay, we don't have any city administrator report. We'll move on to item 7, the department reports. So first up is Public Works Department. Dan, I assume you're taking this?
Yes. Yeah, when I wrote this, this is regarding Missouri American Water. There's certain relocations that need to be done for the Brentwood bound project. So I just kind of put the framework together when I wrote this for this meeting. But in the interim, I received additional information yesterday. So I put together bill number 6319. It'll appear on the Tuesday Board of Aldermen. I got it drafted. I just need to add a few things tonight and then I'll upload it. But basically we have 2 relocation areas. Missouri American, you'll see whenever it's on the agenda for Tuesday, but there is a relocation at Mary Avenue. As you can imagine, there was water main that served, NB West and several other businesses. That all has to be removed and abandoned. And then a new relocation of 840 feet of 8-inch ductile iron completed. 3 fire hydrants added, and then abandonment of the existing facilities, including removal of 1 hydrant. So the cost for that's $256,000. And then there's also a relocation at Brentwood Industrial and Breckenridge Industrial. So right now what they've done is they've put a cap on the water main on either side of the creek so that the demolition of the bridge can occur and the new bridge can be built. So that's already been done. They need to do an agreement, which they did. There's an agreement which will appear on Tuesday as well. That second relocation there at Brentwood Industrial is $96,550. So the grand total is $352,550. And when I talked to Craig, he said that within the Brentwood bound budget, they had programmed $390,557 for these 2 relocations. So we're below the threshold that he put into the budget. So everything should be good. What I'll need, I guess we could wait till Tuesday, but when we go to the full board, we'll need a motion to approve the agreement, the utility easements for those relocations, and what else? I think that's it. Yeah. So everything's together, the easements, the agreements, everything I have in one file, and it's in a draft format for the Tuesday meeting. So I don't know if we need, without you seeing it, I don't know if we should do a motion now or just wait till the Tuesday meeting, do a first and second reading.
And I assume, Bola, that would not be on the consent agenda on Tuesday. So we would put that as.
It's new business.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So that's all I have for that one. It's pretty cut and dried. And like I said, they've already started it, as far as the relocation works, so that they're not holding up Keeley. So whenever we build the new bridge, the water main's cut far enough back that you could build your new abutments. And then when the old one goes away, you know, you can remove it without damaging a water main. So those are all good things.
So Dan, I have one question. I mean, just in advance, the water main that we're taking out that was for Norm West, won't we need a water source there? I mean, that's where the event building and all that stuff is going to be.
There will be. So you'll see that there's an exhibit that actually shows the existing and proposed. So
Okay.
that water main, it's hard to describe because it meanders all over the place, but it does go through the Norm West Park, and it could be used for that new building, that pavilion that's going up. So, and 3 hydrants. I know one new hydrant is close to Executive Walk Apartments, you know, because they lost their old one. New one's going in.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Dan? Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Go on to Parks and Rec. Eric, you're up.
Yeah, so I just have a quick department report about the pathway between Bridgeport and White. And if you guys will let me share my screen for a second. So this is Google Maps, so it's not a perfect view, but this is from Bridgeport looking back onto White. So we did that's the main tree in the middle. And so the urban forester took a look at the tree and the root system. We're able to pull back the asphalt around the tree. And he says it's in really good health. He believes that, while it's not ideal, we could still do a pathway around the tree. He thinks, based on the root zone, it's best to go west. So go this side of the tree. And, you know, we'll do everything we can to protect the tree as we move through construction, including using the air spade, which would be a lot less intrusive than just shovels and rakes and those type of things. And then afterwards, they'll monitor that tree to make sure it is in good shape, make sure there's no damage from the construction. So we have 18 inches of usable space until we hit the fence at 86 White, which is this house over here, like we said. They did encroach onto the alley with their fence and landscaping by 19 inches. So we could, if they moved everything off the pathway, fit the 36 inches that we need around the tree at that point. I guess what we need from the Public Works Committee is just approval to speak to that owner at 8703 White to talk to them about moving their fence line off of the encroachment. And secondarily, he also took a look at his first tree. If you know, the tree in the north side of the pathway, and he did say that it is under some stress and decay and found some disease, a canker in the around the trunk. And so because of that, he feels like that tree needs to be removed before we start construction. So that's just an update as well. So at this point, I think I'll take questions. And if I can get I don't know if we motion if it needs to go to the board or what we need to do, honestly, to work with this homeowner about moving their fenceway off of the pathway.
I would assume a motion from here to engage the house there, or the owner would probably be sufficient. I don't think that would need to go to the board.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Steve and a second by Nancy. Any other questions about that? I just have one question, clarification. We are still planning to do the rubberized material on the path, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we are. That actually will help the health of the tree as well.
That's what I thought. Yeah, Jeff.
I did have a question on the ADA width. So 36 wide is what it has to be the entire way, or is that the reduction limit?
Yep, that's the reduction around the tree.
Okay. And then on the tree on the north that we're going to be removing, is there a plan that we would then replant something along that path, or, you know, just to kind of replace it?
I honestly had thought not, just because of the root structure and what it would do to the pathway and growth. If we feel like we need to landscape some things, whether it's mulch or something else around those pathways to help out with maintenance as we move forward. We could look at maybe something a little bit smaller, a little less obtrusive. And I think it's an oak right there now. I mean, oak would get pretty big. If we do something maybe smaller, more ornamental, that might look nice.
Yeah, I would recommend maybe doing something like that. So, it's not just kind of taking the tree out.
Sure.
Any other questions from anybody? Okay, so all those in favor of engaging with the homeowner there about the encroachment on the alley, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Great. Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
And then item 7C, planning and development. I don't think we have anything on tonight's agenda from them. Okay, we'll move into item 8, which is the consent agenda. The only thing we have is the minutes. Alderman Gould pointed out an error in the Blackwater Creek in those minutes. Anybody else have any other questions or clarifications on that? If not, I'll love a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All right, I have a motion by Alderman Gould and seconded by Alderwoman Parker Tice. All those in favor of approving the consent agenda, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Great. Okay, move into item 9A, old business. First up, we have the additional surveying locations. I think this is you, Dan.
That's actually me.
Sorry.
So I'll take care of this one. And so, as you know, last year, by recommendation of the Public Works Committee, we looked at maybe some additional properties to survey. We couldn't do all of them in the budget last year, so Dan and I placed some funding in our budget this year. And what we're doing is wanting to move forward those last remaining 4 areas. And I listed out the price, the property research and topographic survey. I don't think we'll need to do the topographic survey based on all the other properties, but I just wanted to kind of show it. So just to do the property research and boundary surveys would be about $38,917. And we have $44,000 in the budget, so it's under budget. So we recommend to take this to the board for approval and do these last bit of properties.
Great. Any questions about the final 4? I hope we win like surveying county of the year or something for all this work. Yeah, Nancy.
So I have a question about the alley between Salem and Lewis, just north of Manchester, parallel to Manchester. It seems like in other parts of Brentwood, the alley goes a lot of blocks. Have we studied, does this alley just exist here, we think, or does it go further east or west? You're on mute, Eric.
Sorry about that. From what we're able to tell from St. Louis County, that is the only alley, but I would agree with you that most likely there is something that might go further, and we'll discover that during the property research portion of it. If you look, and I can pull this up if you want me to, but if you look at the area just west, there's that small little 2661 that is actually owned by the property that abuts Manchester. So my guess is that was part of that alley too, that the city at some point gave to those property owners. But we'll find that all out in the plat research, and I can give you kind of an update once we figure that all out.
Thank you.
Yeah, Steve.
Eric, if you look at the one on Moritz, and if you go up to the top of the page where you go past Pine, there seems to be another alley behind that Milton building. I mean, I know that's not on your scope of work here, but do you know anything about that alley? Because it doesn't seem to be part of the 2 parcels on either side of it.
Yeah, I remember when I looked at St. Louis County, I think it pulled up something. I could double check that and let you guys know in a weekly report. If for some reason we want to add that to the scope, I'm sure it wouldn't be that much, because I would think much like what Alderwoman Tice just said, it sure looks like the extension of the alley on Moritz. Looks like 2101 might have eaten up that alley
Right.
next to it. And even if you go south, it looks like there might have been an alley between Bridgeport and Brentwood. So again, I can look at all that stuff and let you guys know in a weekly report and let you guys know when we do the plat research.
And then the one that's that goes behind Lawn, that almost looks like it cuts, does it cut through the parking lot of O.B. Clark's to hook up with Brentwood at one time?
It sure does, and it looks like, honestly, this could be another indication that this might have been a road at one point, maybe during the Audubon Park days.
Mhm.
But I think it sure looks like that was another street from High School to almost Brentwood Boulevard that might have lost something during the time.
All right.
Kind of the fun part about this project is we get to learn a lot of history of some stuff that we might have not known.
Sure. Well, I know that when Tom Kramer was an alderman, he had a big beef with this area right here because it's got a lot of drainage. So I'm sure if we don't need it, it'd be great to get rid of it. But, all right, thank you.
No problem.
All right, any other questions or a motion to?
I'll make a motion to forward onto the board, I guess if that's what Eric's looking for, a change order with TWM for the property research and boundary survey for areas B, C, D, and E, not to exceed $38,917.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Steve and seconded by Nancy. Any other questions or conversation? Okay, all those in favor of approving this motion to send it to the board, say aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Great. Okay, moving into item 10, new business. My favorite topic, Hanley Dog Park. All right, you're still on, Eric.
Yeah, I'm all right in a row. Then Dan will take over. So just a quick update. We wanted to kind of bring to the Public Works Committee some maintenance concerns that we've had related to the Hanley Dog Park. We have seen obviously some increased usage over at Hanley at the Hanley Dog Park with Norm West closing. And obviously this time of year is not the greatest time to get increased usage. So what we've done is pretty much killed most of the turf that's in that dog park right now. Obviously it's in pretty bad shape. And so there's another number of options that we have, staff has kind of talked about. And, I kind of list them from the cheapest to the most expensive. The first is overseeding and leaving the park open. And if you know anything, you're not going to get grass to grow if you just seed it and let dogs trample all over it. So that doesn't seem to be a good option. I did want to let you know that we did it, investigate that. We could overseed it while closing one section at a time. And we've done that in the past. Usually we close it from 4 to 6 weeks. We let the grass grow. When we did it, we had limited success, primarily because once you get some new sprigs of grass growing, we have to open it back up, and then basically the dogs will trample it and it'll die again. So again, not the greatest option, but again, it is one that is not very expensive and we continue to try to do. We could wood chip the whole area. We could either pay for wood chips, which is what the estimated cost is. There's times when Davey is doing work for us that we can get free wood chips from them. They just chip it up and bring them over. Again, we really consider that somewhat of a temporary solution because the wood chips will ultimately get trampled into that mud, and then they become muddy, and basically you'll get right back into kind of a muddy sort of situation. You could continuously add wood chips. If you do that, then we'll definitely get to the point where we're paying for those wood chips because we'll run out of trees that Davies have chipped up for us. We could purchase new grass and resod the entire park. The couple of good and bad about this is that it basically would wear better than newly germinated grass seed. But we don't have an accessible water source at this point to make sure that we get it in and water it properly and get it growing properly. We are thinking about moving the water fountain that was at Norm West to the one there that gives us a water source. So that is a possibility that we'd have kind of, be able to water it from there once we move that water fountain, if we wanted to do something like that. Again, it's probably temporary because just because of the size of the dog park, it's small, it's a fairly small dog park. And ultimately the dogs will just run through that and, we'll get back to where we are, but it'll probably take a little bit longer, a year, maybe 2 years if we get a good stand of sod. Then we can go to the temporary crushed granite. That's kind of that is what we have at Northwest Park. But if the idea is that this is a temporary dog park, we wouldn't have to do the full sort of what we did at Norm West, where we could just apply a landscape fabric over our current surface, put in some 2-inch layer of crushed granite, and we could level it and make sure it's nice and level. Now, because we're not doing the full thing, especially with the wood barrier, the granite would spill over the fence line. And again, there could be time where, since it's just a small layer, it would get ground into and perhaps muddy. During those times, we could just put in more crushed granite, so it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, again, if it's temporary. If the idea is this becomes a permanent dog park, we could do exactly what we did at Norm West and just go through that whole thing. We dig down, we put in a landscape fabric, put on the wood border, and then lay everything down. Last time it took us about, I think, 6 to 8 weeks at Norm West. This is obviously a smaller dog park. And obviously it'll depend on how weather goes, how long we'd have to shut it down, but it gave you the cost. And the last is the synthetic dog turf option. That is, you rip it out, you put in nice drainage, put in rocks, grass, sand, and then you put in the nice synthetic turf over it. That is very expensive. So it is an option. So I'm just laying out every option. So our thought as a staff is it really is dependent on what we decide to do with this dog park. I know at times we said it was a temporary dog park until Norm West came online after Brentwood Bound. If that's the case, we would suggest going with a temporary solution. If this is going to be a permanent amenity to the park system and have kind of a 2 dog parks, then we would suggest maybe doing something a little bit more permanent and probably the crushed granite. So that's kind of a brief rundown of it, and happy to take questions. And we're really looking for recommendations and guidance from the Public Works Committee on what you think we should do.
Great, thanks, Eric. Yeah, Jeff.
So a couple of questions that I have is, I appreciate the variety of solutions that you've offered up. Do we have a good sense of where the residents are coming from, or the people who are participating in our dog park? Are they walking there with their dogs? Are they mostly driving there and parking and then going to the dog park? I think one of the things that I have a concern of is if this isn't a permanent dog park and eventually could move to Norm West, it removes the walkability for close to the residents, right? And I like the idea that it's close to for a lot of the residents' homes, closer than where the proposed Norm West Park would be. So I think we have to have a bigger discussion about, its permanency or not, to really get a better determination of what to do. Now, I do think that we have an immediate issue with mud and water, and then you're going to have people that just won't use it anymore if it becomes deteriorated. So as far as I'm concerned, I think your more temporary granite option is probably the way I would recommend going. But I do have a couple questions on why we couldn't install at least a wood at the ground level along the fence line, and attach it to the posts to keep some of that from getting kind of through the fence, without having to do the extensive, digging out and burying it and all of that. And 2, I'm curious we have a ton of material that is sitting at Norm West. Is it possible that we can reuse some of that material and bring it over? Because it's a lot of material piled up there. So those are my questions.
Sure, happy to answer both of those. One is we probably could put in a wood barrier. As we're thinking temporary versus permanent, we're trying to keep the temporary options as cheap as possible, as cost effective as possible. But yeah, we could probably put a wood border, start with a wood border, then lay down the fabric, and then put the thing on top of that, which would help the spillage. You're correct, we could do that. And even if we then move to more permanent and dug down, we could then probably pull off the wood and then readjust it. So that is a very good option that we can definitely do. As far as what's over at Norm West Park, it is still over at Norm West Park. It is supposed to be, the contractor has it in their scope of work to hold on to that so that we could use it for the Norm West Dog Park if we move forward with that. So we could obviously take some of it now, then we just pay some more when we do that dog park, if we move forward with that dog park. So we could kind of adjust back and forth.
And was that factored into the cost of the cost? Was the cost of the temporary crushed granite that you have here, was that hauling cost to take what we have now over to, or was that all new?
No, that was all new, figuring that we'd be using that material for the new dog park. I think hauling costs, we would just probably, we'd use our dingo, put it in the back of a truck, move it over. That cost would be minimal, just be staff time more than anything else.
When do we get those e-bikes? It might take a bunch of trips, but.
Good.
Bucket by bucket.
Steve or Nancy? Yeah, Steve?
Yeah. Eric, is the problem there, is water pooling? Are we holding water there, or is it just soggy?
It's two. I mean, obviously that area is still in the floodplain. So floodway, I always forget which one. But it is in a floodplain. So when it rains, we get excess water. And if you remember, we wanted to put that up quickly and cost effectively. So we didn't do any grading when we put that one in. So yeah, wherever we had pooling before, we had pooling in that dog park. So the nice thing about whether it's wood chips or although they'll ultimately sag or the granite is that we should hopefully level that out. So we'll have a little bit more level, which will help water run off a little bit too.
So even if we put a barrier up around to keep the granite from migrating out, we're not going to cause a pooling effect in that dog park with?
No, because ultimately we'll fill in that little, actually what we'll probably do to begin with before we put down the fabric is we'll level off with some dirt first, then put down the fabric, and then even some of those spots will get leveled out with the crushed granite.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Nancy?
So I don't think we've come to the resolution of whether we permanently want a dog park here. And I guess if we permanently want to have a dog park here, I might be more inclined to do some of the more permanent solutions, or certainly the either the crushed granite. But if we're gonna have this open for a couple of years and then we're gonna have this incredible dog park in the Brentwood bound area, then I'm sort of more inclined to go with some wood chips. I know it's a couple of years till that would happen, but I guess that's just sort of, I don't know what the right answer for Brentwood is, but those are my thoughts on two different ways to go and what material I would use if we went the two different ways.
The only thing I would say about wood chips is while we put that in there, is one, I'm not, my dogs don't go to a dog park that has wood chips in it. In fact, they don't go to any dog park. So I was just being honest there. But I think the idea is I would look to maybe Alderman Wegge and other people about, how that surface is for their dogs. Some people don't mind it. Some people very, don't like it as much. Secondarily is you will get a smell because the wood chips will soak up the urine. And so if it's a couple of years, and again, we could always pull some of that out and replace it, top dress and things like that, which would help with some of the smell. But I just wanted to make sure that that's a point that is well known.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give my 2 cents here. I mean, I think there is a bigger question about if this is a temporary or permanent dog park. But I almost think it's kind of a moot discussion because we're gonna need this one for at least 3 years until we know the direction down in Norm West. So for me, in dog park years, 3 years is like forever. So that's a long time. And to the wood chips, Maplewood has wood chips. So I spent many years over there, and it does stink, and the dogs kind of chew on the stuff, and it's almost better, not any better than having nothing in some respects, in my opinion. I mean, I'm a fan of what Alderman Gould is proposing of kind of do the temporary. I really like what we've done with the Hamley Dog Park where, we're almost doing like a, small incremental changes. And I think 3 years from now, when it's time to make a decision if we keep it or not, we'll be well positioned. So So Eric, on the granite, whether it's temporary or permanent, are you thinking of doing the entire surface or just some of the areas that are wetter? You know, that section of the big dog section, it gets really, really bad, but the rest of it is relatively dry, although there's no grass.
You know, I've talked to a lot of other dog park owners who dislike going from that granite to grass surface. So we would at least do one side, which would be the large dog park, because that is the wet side. If we wanted to, we could keep the smaller dog park side grass and the asphalt trail that runs right through the middle of it. But we could do that as well. And just have one grass side, one granite side.
Okay, and then one more thought for me. I mean, you know, I'm there almost every day, and I see a lot of people pull up in their cars and a lot of people walk. One thing I've always loved about that dog park is I feel like it really serves the residents in Hanley Station and the villas and Brentwood Forest, you know, which is, you know, a segment of our population that doesn't get a lot of access to a lot of city things. So that was one reason I really liked that location of where we put that. So just one kind of final thought. Yeah, Steve.
So Eric, if we rob the granite from norm west and move it ourselves, I mean, we're looking way under this $4,000 to $6,000 under the temporary.
Yeah, we are. And sorry, I was just checking my office to see if I could find my notes from there we go. From our park superintendent, who basically put these numbers together for me. I think the idea is that the landscape fabric is about 11 cents per square foot. And so if you think about the square feet of 1,400, so it'd be the landscape fabric be about 1,500. The lumber, if we want to do it, be somewhere, you know, around 500. So you probably cut that price in half at least.
Mm-hmm. And then, you know, it's great that we got a contractor willing to scrape all that up and pile it somewhere, but we're still looking at 3 years down the road. It's just kind of hang around. I'd say I'm for the temporary crushed granite from Norm West being deposited here with Jeff's idea of, you know, somehow bordering that off to keep it from migrating.
That sounds like a motion, Steve.
Don't put Jeff's name.
Yeah, I'll make that motion. Since
You make that
everybody
motion,
says it's my idea, it's, you know, it's just talking it through. But yeah, I would move that. You know, I guess one thing before I make the motion, Alderman Wege, you mentioned that the sort of small dog area isn't as much of a problem. I guess the question, Eric, to you is, would it be almost a hybrid of, do the small dogs like the more grass, or, you know, I don't know, but would it be better for trying to reseed and overseed the small dog park to get that grass growing and better there, and then do a full, because I'm sure the big dogs are the ones who really tear up the ground the most, do the big dog area with the crushed granite? I know it's a little bit of a mix of the offerings, but just curious on your thoughts there before we make a motion.
Sure. Sorry, again, I'm looking for something that, so ironically, I think, and I think Alderman Way, you could probably attest to this, is while we have small dogs and large dog sections, a lot of times they play together. And so one of the things that, again, talking with someone about the dog park is that really, when we move forward, and we can either start it now or wait for Norm West, is that it's really an active versus passive side. So the ones who are active all play together. And if you have a really passive sort of skittish dog, you usually want them in a side that's maybe not so active. So I think, you know, and I think that's a great suggestion. So if we went maybe an active and passive side, we could also, you're absolutely right. If we did that, we could then overseed the one section when we got to April and really have good time for grass to grow. And then every dog could go into the active section or the granite section. And, you know, that will give us the opportunity to have at least something, even when we're trying to grow grass. So we could definitely do that.
I mean, I'd like to hear the rest of the committee's response to that, but that seems like a good a good approach in my opinion, a best of both worlds.
Yeah, I think that's a great approach. And I think by the time we get to doing a dog park in Brentwood Bound, we'll have grand ideas, and I'd just as soon use that material that's sitting there. So it's a great idea.
I'm hearing synthetic dog park turf at Northwest Park.
Hey,
We'll get there.
let's not get
I
ahead of
will-
ourselves here, Eric.
The two dog-
I guess I will make that motion, I guess, and that we pursue the route of bordering the big dog park, the big section of the dog park with wood, laying down fabric, and relocating the current crushed granite that we have material, and then overseeding the small dog section and allowing new grass growth to be germinated before allowing dogs on it.
Second.
Okay, well articulated motion, Alderman Gould. Appreciate that. So we have a motion by Jeff and seconded by
First for
Steve.
everything.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion?
And I'll look
Okay.
at Bola. I'll look at Bola for this one, but since this is just operational, this doesn't need to go to the board, does it, Bola?
You're on mute, Bull.
It's within your budget, right?
Correct.
No.
Great. Okay, can we just do a roll call, or do we need a roll call? Probably not, right?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of doing that, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. All right, fantastic. I will tell you, this is going to be great, and my dog is super excited to hear the word dog park over and over, which is why he broke through the floor and ran in here to check this meeting and what's going on. So. Okay, moving on to item B. Sorry, my computer locked up. Okay, Demolition Phase 1C.
Yep, this one's me. Got another Brentwood Bound update. I included the drawings in case you were bored and wanted to see the different locations in the plans. The addresses are all listed there, so you can see there's quite a few addresses that'll be demolished, including, you know, Omni Refrigeration, Becker, you know, so on and so forth. So we went out for bids last week. Last Thursday, we received those bids. We have a total of 7. And Marshall Wrecking LLC was the apparent lowest. We interviewed them as well as S. Schaefer Excavation, and Marshall is who we still want to go with. We used them for the last phase for 1B, and the difference between the two, first and second place, is $9,060. The good news is that, I know we talked about it on Saturday during the tour, the engineer's estimate was $722,000. And we're coming in at 368,140. So we're 350,000 plus difference, you know, savings. So that's a great thing. So what we would need is a motion that we're requesting to recommend Marshall for Brentwood Bound Demolition Bid Package 1C in the amount of 368,140. Enter into a contract pending board approval, and then also with approval of the city administrator, request authorization to approve change orders in the amount not to exceed $36,814, which is 10% of the project bid submittal. That way, if we run into some unforeseen condition, we can continue up to that 10% buffer. And, you know, we haven't really needed any of it in the past, but we would just like to have it in case. But that's what we're looking for to take to the board.
I will make that motion that Dan so eloquently articulated.
Second.
Great. We have a motion by Alderwoman Nancy Parker Tice, and we'll go second with Steve on that one. All right. Any other questions, discussion? Yeah, Steve.
Eric, were we going to demo the, I thought the pavilion that's down there in Northwest, the restrooms were going to get demoed. Is that not in this bid?
It's in it.
It is in there.
Okay. And then it's a great price. I mean, I can't believe it. This
That includes
includes,
abatement too. There's a few with asbestos, so they have to
I
do
was
the
going to say
abatement.
Brentwood Materials must have a lot of stuff in there. I'm not materials, the Brentwood Plastics. I can't believe that, this price, that covers that demolition.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're in the process of moving out. We toured all of them. I went with Navigate and some of the contractors. They had 3 different groups because of COVID. You can't go as one giant group, but we went through all of them, and he gave them a schedule as to when they would become available. So they worked that into their schedule. They know some of them, like Frederick Roofing, for example, you can't touch that until they move out, which is later on, I believe, in June of this year.
What about Brentwood Material?
They're in there too. They gave them a date as to when they would be out, and that they were allowed to tour it, and they know schedule wise what's available, what's not, so they've worked that into their price. They know they're going to mobilize, do a few, and then demobilize until the others become available.
But Brentwood Material is contingent upon the resolution of the acquisition.
Right.
Well, Bola, if you wouldn't mind, I'd kind of like to contact Dan Fitzgerald. He's part of the Historical Society, and maybe get him down there into the Brentwood Plastics building, because that used to be the power plant for the trolley that went through. And, before we wreck it, I'd like to have him take some pictures of it if we don't have any.
I can do that. I'll arrange that.
Okay, thanks. Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion on the motion? Great. Okay. All those in favor of going with that, Marshall? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anybody opposed? Great. That's good news. Good stuff. Okay, move on to item C, the bulk item at the condominiums.
This was brought up. Alderwoman Sims had someone contact her who lives in Hanley Station. So I included, there's a sheet that is on our website, and it's available to anyone, to look up what our fees are for bulk, or either we refer to it as bulk pickup or household. It's kind of synonymous. So if you had a washer or a dryer or, a TV set, box spring mattress, we break down the cost to pick those items up. We do it by ward each Friday. So tomorrow is the 12th, which would be the second Friday of the month, and we'll be doing ward 2. I looked it up earlier today. There's like 8 reservation tickets to do different pickups. So, we don't cap you at, 1 item or 2 items. It's whatever you want, but you pay a fee. By county code, we're required to do a bulk pickup, but only 3 times per year. We are actually pretty generous in providing it once a month. So there is a fee, but it's single family and it's Brentwood Forest. So the person that contacted her lives in Hanley Station. We declined to pick it up. We've never picked up at Hanley Station. We don't pick up at Brentwood Villas. Really, it's just Brentwood Forest and then everyone else, excluding, apartments and the other condos. So I put together a list or a table that shows what the revenues are for when we do charge. So not only is that for households, but it includes like the rear pickups, typically, or some refer to it as valet, where basically we go up to your front door, grab the cart, empty it, bring it back. A lot of people used to take advantage of it in York Village. There's a few there still and others citywide. And then the actual expenses, what we pay for solid waste disposal. I included both budget and actual to show you that, it's not this that's really causing the issue. It's really, paying Republic, paying Waste Connections for trash disposal, recycling, processing, yard waste. But if we were to do this, the people would set it up just like anyone else. And the difficulty in this one is, where do they put it? Because if you look at Hanley Station, we need access. Typically, most people put it at the curb. So if it's a mattress and you live on Lewis, you'll put it up at the curb. We pull into the street, grab it, put it in the bed of the truck, take it to a roll-off dumpster, and dispose of it. There, it's a little more challenging. You'd have to have a designated area. And then we'd also have to coordinate with the condominium association. I don't know if they allow such a thing right now. It would be like near a bus stop, as best I could tell. Be the first thing you see on Strassner whenever you're pulling through there on a Friday. Most people put it out Thursday night, since we start picking up Friday morning. So I guess the question becomes, do we want to pursue this? It was really just one person asking, but in the past, we've had people ask, I don't know how many times, but it comes, it's cyclical, probably once or twice every year or two.
Yeah, I'll just kind of add on this. I mean, this is in Ward 2, and I was surprised to hear that this is not a service that's offered to the condos over there. And it does seem like we have an inconsistency where Brentwood Forest is getting the service and the other condominiums are not. I'm not sure this would be appropriate for apartments because, it's kind of a different population. It'd probably be more large item pickups of people are living yearly. But, I think this is the right thing to do. We would have to work through those logistics issues that Dan mentions, though, because of just the construct. So just my 2 cents. Yeah, Steve.
I don't want to call it a burden, but I think I would put some of this on the condominium associations to try to, take on a lot of this on their own, as far as coordinating the pickup, maybe even paying for it, with the condo owner reimbursing the condo association and designating a place where this would be put out. So Dan's not making multiple trips to different locations within the facility. So I kind of like his idea on kind of shifting that part of it to the 2 condo associations that I guess are in charge of these, or management companies, whatever they are.
Mm-hmm.
But like Brandon said, I'd be in favor of it too. We should supply the service. Thanks.
Yeah, I completely, oh, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm sorry, I just started talking. I completely agree that it should be for the condos, not apartments, and concur with Steve's comments about coordinating with the condo association to make sure that Brentwood is paid for this.
Which I believe that's Dan's recommendation, right? That
It is.
it's almost like the condo association would be the resident in this case, because if they're going out to pick up 1 mattress and there's 4 there, that's going to be on the condo association. So I don't know if that was a motion you were making there, Steve, and a second there, Nancy.
Yeah, is this a policy? What are we needing to do, Dan?
Well, I know right now we don't do it for them, and we've always said, well, because we've never done it, we just haven't done it. I know on the sheet, it doesn't really call that section out that they're excluded. I know in other areas, it'll say, Brentwood Forest service, like under trash schedule, Monday and Thursday. And then under, optional services, it lists like a few other things. And then residential recycling, it lists, Ward 4, and then in parentheses, Brentwood Forest, they recycle on Mondays. So, yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to just offer them this. I didn't want them to think that we would start picking up their trash and other stuff. This doesn't take away from trash service. I just wanted to be clear, or clearer than the memo. Public Works picks up your couch. Sanitation department still does trash on Friday. So we wouldn't be competing. So if there's, 10 stops, which now becomes 20, I would just dedicate more Public Works folks to get it done on that Friday. And the trash is not impeded whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean,
so I don't see it being that big
Question.
a deal. I can reach out to those management companies. I did actually reach out, I believe it's MLP for Hanley Station. I haven't heard anything, but I'll call them.
This
So
is a
Steve-
service expansion.
I think they're looking for direction on if this is something we want to pursue and give them authorization to approach those condo associations to talk to this. Because if the condo association doesn't want to deal with this, then,
That's true.
anything we can do. Yeah, Nancy.
I see this as different than this is a sort of fee for service thing that Brentwood offers to our residents. So this isn't, I see this as pretty different than talking to them about trash, because it's just a different service. So I see a pretty clear distinction.
I hope we're not walking in, opening that door though.
I would suggest that the motion would direct, as you all have indicated, direct Dan to explore this further with Hanley Station, Brentwood Villas, I think they would be the only two because you're already doing this for Brentwood Forest. And then if there's an agreement with those two condo associations, that some sort of service agreement be executed whereby they agree that they would be on the hook for the cost to provide for us picking these up for their residents. And then if that seems to be positive, Dan could bring that back, and then there'll be a formal vote by the board for this expanded service, service level.
I couldn't have said it better.
Great.
I'll make that motion that Bola said.
I'll second.
Yeah, awesome. We got a motion by Alderman Gould and seconded by Alderman Lockmiller. Any other questions or discussion on this? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay. And then on to item 10D, Hanley Road improvements. Dan?
Yep, that one's me again. This is more for informational purposes. So I don't know if you had a chance to read it, but basically, the county was going to redo Hanley Road from Dale up around the Heights, like just south of I-64, all the way down to Manchester. Due to funding issues, they're unable to do any of those improvements on Hanley Road, with the exception of Manchester at Hanley Road. That intersection will actually go into the MoDOT plans and not be a county project included with that. Our role, or our part as part of this intersection, is that we had worked through some upgrades. So instead of just regular galvanized steel, we wanted to have the nice powder coated finish, which would be black, kind of like I know the lights there at what would it be, Hanley Industrial at Hanley, where the Metrolink goes over Hanley Road. A lot of those have that black finish. Those are more decorative, and also some signs and like uplighting and things like that, a little bit different finishes for that intersection, since it's the gateway into Brentwood. And our cost would be $7,700 is the estimate right now. So this will be rolled into the MoDOT agreement, and then we'll need a motion to direct staff to coordinate with MoDOT and county officials, because there's going to be a maintenance agreement as part of that. So if something gets damaged down the road, as far as the finish, then that finish has to be put back and not just galvanized steel. So MoDOT does that all the time, and so does the county. If somebody wants an enhancement, there is a maintenance agreement, and we would pay MoDOT, to do our intersection there, but we would still need to enter into an agreement long-term for the maintenance. So
Dan,
whenever we have that agreement, we'll bring that back. I don't have it yet.
Yeah, so Dan, you're looking for a motion to engage on this, but ultimately, right, maintenance agreement will be some form of ordinance or resolution.
It will.
This is just an addition on that. So this is just kind of just that additional intersection, looking for authorization, right?
Right.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Steve and seconded by Nancy. Any other questions, discussion? Yeah, Steve.
So this is just there at hand. I mean, they're doing improvements from Dale all the way down, but the information you're giving us here is just for that intersection where the bridge is being replaced.
Well, the county was going to do Hanley Road, and that's postponed indefinitely. So at one time, they were going to widen the road on the west side, add another lane. That can't be done. So it's really just the intersection. If you were to do the shared use path and the sidewalk improvements, they would run right into the existing lights that are there. So no matter what, that intersection has to be improved to accommodate our 10-foot wide shared use path, the sidewalks on the north side. So this has to be done. It's just a matter of the maintenance agreement and paying the upgrades, to get the finishes that we want.
Right. All right, good. Just want to make sure.
Yep.
Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion to authorize to engage with MoDOT, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Great. All right, moving on to item 11, citizen comment.
There are no citizens in the gallery.
All right, we ran them off. And then 12, motion.
So moved.
Great, I have a motion by Nancy and Seconded by somebody, Steve maybe. And all those in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye.
All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great night. Happy
Good night,
birthday.
all.
Thank you.